Hello everyone. Today we will understand about the architecture of DBMS, which is popularly known as the three schema architecture. The word schema is important here. It includes two things, the structure and the constraints. Structure means the type and kind of data that a table will hold. For example, the ID column will have numeric data type. The name column will have character data type. The salary column will be having again a numeric data type, and so on. Constraints are the restriction on database tables. For example, the age column cannot accept any value less than 18 years. Similarly, the salary column must have values in some predefined range. So, schema is a mix of both the structure and the constraints. Now, this DBMS architecture is called three schema architecture because it has three schemas, or you can call them the levels of database architecture. What is the purpose of this three schema architecture? The purpose is to create user applications which are different and separate from the physical database. And it is proposed to support the characteristics of program data independence and to support the multiple views of the data. Here in this diagram, the architecture can be seen which has three levels: the external level or view level, the conceptual level, or the internal level. We can use the word level or schema interchangeably. Now, we'll understand this architecture with the help of an bank ATM example. You can see 5 points in the ATM example mentioned in the slide. In each of the steps, some database processing happens. When you insert your card in the ATM machine, the machine reads it, finds and matches the 16-digit card number on the disk and returns with a welcome message. For example, welcome Ankit on the screen of the ATM machine. Then it asks you further details and verifies them with the data it has in its database. Finally, when the transaction gets successfully completed, you get the money and you walk off the ATM. Thus, we can see here that all these steps, all these processings includes the use of all the three levels. In the next slide, we will be understanding the functioning of each of the levels. So here we can see the details of the three levels. As we can see here, the first level is external or view level. It says that it includes a number of external schemas or user views. Like in the bank example, we have so many ATM machines in a single city. So at the same point of time, the same single database is being accessed by different users at different machines. So this is the external or view level. It includes a number of external schemas or user views. Second, B point says it describes a part of the database that a particular user group is interested in and hides the rest of the database from that user group, which means you can only see your account related information and no other person's information will be shown to you. This is the property of external schema. The second schema is the conceptual schema, and it describes the structure and constraints for the whole database. For example, if we had specified the amount to be withdrawn something bigger than the actual amount we have in our account, then the machine will show you an error message. So all the constraints gets checked at the conceptual schema. The last schema is called internal schema, which describes the physical storage structure and access paths on the disk. This schema is very important because here the database which is present on the disk, the access path, the indexing takes place at this level. And here in this diagram we can see that internal schema is the most closest to the stored database. Now, having covered all the three levels, we can see here that there are multi-sided arrows. Two-sided arrows are there in between the schema levels. Why these arrows are both sided? Because there is a mapping between levels. For example, there is an external conceptual mapping between external and conceptual schema. Similarly, conceptual and internal mapping is there between conceptual and internal schema. The mapping among schema levels are needed to transform request and the data. The request from the user comes from the external or view level. It goes downwards to the conceptual schema. It further goes downward through internal schema and finally reaches the stored database on the disk. And once the results are fetched, they move upwards towards the end users. So to transform requests and data, the mapping is required. The program refer to an external schema and are mapped by the DBMS to the internal schema for execution. This is all about 3 schema architecture. If you have any queries, you can contact me on the below mentioned email ID. Thank you so much. Have a nice day.